Hi everyone, it's James here from Pro Tools Expert. Now, I don't know about Russ and the rest of the guys, but I am packed and ready for jetting off to NAMM, weather allowing. In the UK at the moment, we've got a bit of a snow issue. But before we go and start talking about loads of new kit, what I'd like to do is quickly revisit an application for the iPad that Russ discovered at NAMM last year. And that is Auria for the iPad. At the MPS show in London this year, I was chatting to some of the guys from Synthax, who are the distributor in the UK for RME, who make some fantastic interfaces. And one of the guys was telling me about their new interface, which is completely compatible with the iPad and Auria. Now, my main interest for this would be to use it for backing tracks with my band. At the moment, we use an iPad or an iPod, which gives me click in one ear and track in the other. But if we want our tracks to be stereo and more independently controllable by the front of house engineer, I was looking for a new solution, and I think I might have found it. So let's have a look at the new version of Auria with the RME UCX interface. So I've got the UCX by RME mounted here on my laptop stand, and you can see it's a pretty compact little unit. Sort of, that's my hand on top. But amazingly, it gives me nearly the same level of I/O as the Universal Audio Apollo, which we looked at a couple of weeks ago. I only get 2 mic pre's on the front, which I can use either with any kind of standalone DAW or with Auria, which I'll talk about in a moment. But I also get 2 inputs on the front, so 2 more inputs on the front, so 4 inputs on the back. And most importantly, my 8 line outputs. Now at the front, at the moment, I have this one configured as my headphones mix, hence I have PH on the display here. And if I press play on Auria, and I solo the click track, I want to hear more of that click out of output 7 and 8, which on the front, which is assigned automatically as my default headphone output. But of course, I don't want that to go through to the front of house speakers. No point in giving the audience any idea that we're running to click track, hey? So the problem has always been how to assign it to something I can hear, but not the rest of the band, or more importantly, not the audience. And I think I found it in the update to Auria. So just to confirm, at the moment, you're hearing what I would hear in my in-ear monitors from the output 7 and 8, the phone's output on the front of the RME UCX interface. What I'm going to do now is show you the back panel of the UCX, and I'll show you how I'm changing what's going to each of the outputs using the Auria output matrix. So we're now looking at the back of the UCX, and you can see it's quite a hive of connectivity. Word clock built in, MIDI, which is on a breakout connector. It's also worth knowing that it's a Firewire 400 or USB interface. Now, obviously, I'm using it USB with the camera connector kit straight into my iPad, but I could hook it straight up to my laptop and be using it Firewire 400. I have ADA optical I/O, 4 more balanced line-ins, giving me 8 analog ins, 6 analog outs on the back, plus the 2 headphones, giving me 8 analog outs, plus ADAT and SPDIF. It's a really well-spec'd, tiny little box, and fantastic for portable recording, or in this case, portable track playback. So now, if I play back the same track again, you'll hear, hopefully, no click. Now that output change was not possible in the first versions of Auria. So what I'll do now is show you some of the new features of Auria and how I'm using it to attain different output across the different outputs of the UCX. So we're now looking at Auria's mixer. And just so you know, I've plugged the output to my speakers back into the headphone out, so I want to hear the click. So if I press play, here's my click level. So if I come over to my subgroups, You can see I've got 8 subgroups. Now before, these weren't terribly useful in the earlier versions of Auria, because all you could do was effectively use them as busing groups, which is great. But now what I can do, you can see here I've assigned my click to subgroup 1. If I go to menu, I now have an output matrix. The input matrix was always there, but now I have a separate output matrix. And you can see here that I'm using subgroup 1 sent to outputs 7 and 8, my headphone outputs. This is fantastic because I can not only monitor my click in my ears and not have it bother anybody else, mainly the audience, but also we can send a stereo output to outputs 1 and 2 straight to the front of house console. You can see here I'm also using auxiliary 1 sent to outputs 1 and 2, and I'm using that for extra reverb. When I produce tracks, I tend to produce them dry so I can add reverb and effects when I get to a venue, rather than being stuck with a vast reverb that doesn't suit the particular venue we're in. If I close that, play back, change the level of any other track I want to. I think they've also made some improvements with actual processing, because you can see this is quite a big track and it's really not breaking a sweat as far as the CPU is concerned. Now with the band, we're about to upgrade a load of our kit, and there's a fair chance I'll be able to run separate outputs for some of the track channels, and I can do that in exactly the same way by altering where these particular tracks go. So for example, if I want to change where the JD bass comes out, I can change that to subgroup 2, and I'll change its partner on that side to subgroup 2 as well. And I'll go back into the output matrix. Subgroup 2 I want to send to outputs 3 and 4. Now I could choose to send these also to the main internal outs as well. But in this case what I want to do is only send that to outputs 3 and 4. So that's the bass to outputs 3 and 4. So now when I play back, let's just find where the bass kicks in on the track. You'll hear it's not there. And if I just mute the system again and plug into 3 and 4, you'll hear. So now when I play back, I should just have the JD bass. So there you go, a quick update on what's been happening in the world of Auria and how you can use it alongside some dedicated audio interfaces. In this case, we've used the RME UCX. Thanks very much for watching, hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you again soon.